So my dad passed on it's been in 96 he passed on. Of course, I watched him grow. Then now my mother, who's now 82, suffering from a lot of different problems, is also growing old, and you kind of watch that happen, and she's very isolated. So as you see an aging parent get old, how do you break them out of that isolation, where life doesn't end at 82, where she says she's preparing herself to die, or where life begins?
How does that feel for you when you hear her tell you that she's preparing herself to die? It's got to be painful.
Well, she told me that death is a deliverance, because when you have a suffering body, death is a deliverance. And, I've watched her go from being able to walk to having emphysema where it's upon walking that she gets winded, to the rascal, to the walker, to the oxygen, and...
You're watching her deteriorate and decline before your eyes.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah, that's why I had some questions that,
But we'll come back to the questions.
Okay.
I want to know what it's doing to you. I mean, sometimes that's the hardest stuff. I mean, I love and respect the fact that you clearly want to do right by her, and I trust you will. But for today, I mainly want to hear...
Well, I mean, that was, yeah. It's frustrating. Okay, for instance, if I go to the doctor with her, my mother has no one to talk to. And so my mother can cry at the drop of a hat. So she'll go to the doctor. The doctor says, "So how are you doing?" She'll just start crying. And I try to maintain a poker face because I feel like, A, I'm kind of embarrassed. B, I'm kind of frustrated because she does this all the time. But I realize that she wants human compassion. She's suffering. And I don't know that a doctor can give you that in 15 minutes,
Right.
And so I try to maintain a poker face because I feel like if I start crying, one of us has to be the stronger one.
So you're robbing yourself of your own legitimate emotional reaction for fear of becoming as overwhelmed as she is.
One of us has to stay strong to support the other, and if I'm crying and devastated, I can't be there to look at the doctor, and when the doctor looks at me out of not knowing what how to quite handle it other than it's okay.
You state that one of you have to be strong. Where is that written? Is that on your sheet here? Is that somewhere in this paper? You're denying your own emotion. I don't doubt that you're a strong person. I can see that in you. I'm not worried for a moment that you won't be strong enough to help her as she deserves to be helped. What I'm most concerned about is you not honoring your own legitimate emotional reaction to this painful process of a loved one declining.
Well, how should I do that?
Let yourself be. Let yourself feel. If you're upset and you're feeling sad, don't put up a front. Don't be fraudulent. If you cry, is that a lack of strength? I would argue it is strength. Now, I'm not suggesting that you
can't do it. It's
you can't let go. You can't let yourself feel in the moment.
Like the other day, I caught her coming out of the bedroom, and I caught her sitting on the edge of the bed, and she was just sitting there, and I just kind of looked at her, and I was like...
Did she know you were there?
Well, I was in the bathroom, kind of getting ready to leave.
You were hiding.
Well, she could see me, but she just didn't see She couldn't see I was looking.
But she didn't see that you were sad. She didn't see that you were about to cry.
Well, I wasn't, because I get hardened. I just kind of looked at her and I said, "You all right?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "It's hard." And I sat next to her on the bed, and I'm like, I know it's hard, Mom. But I couldn't really bring myself to touch her too much because we don't have that. We've never had that, as a child, where I can, never had more touchy feeling.
You've already taught me that's Mom's deficiency. Mom doesn't let herself get close to many people.
Right. I feel guilty when I go home. When I'm at her house, I can be kind of hard and...
Because you're like a volcano. You're stuffing it down, and you're trying to avoid honoring your own emotional response to this terrifying situation before you. And then when you can't contain it any longer, it explodes. It
Well,
erupts.
sometimes, I mean, not often, but what happens is I go home and I settle down and I watch, then I start crying.
All right.
I start crying, I
behind
feel
closed
guilty.
doors.
Yeah, I start feeling, I cry because I just left your house and yet I miss you already.
And what are you really afraid of?
Just not having her anymore.
That's exactly right. You're fast forwarding to the ultimate end.
It's gonna happen.
You're grieving the loss before it happens. And you're
Oh, I did that all my life. Well, my dad too.
living in the future. You're not even, the problem with that, and I'm a preparer too. I certainly respect that. I want to be prepared. I don't want to be, caught off guard or blindsided. But the problem, in living in the future is that you miss the present as it's happening.
Yeah, I'm good for that.
It's a bad deal.
Yeah,
Because you'll never get back what is real.
yeah. I don't know.
And the best of our thinking will never get us to what's real in the future because we can't predict the future. And I would strongly, strongly tell you that you need to be more present, both for yourself and your mother. You need to let yourself be real in the moment and connect with her. And if you cry, you cry. And I'm telling you, crying is a source of strength. It's not a weakness. Why won't you give yourself permission to feel? I mean, the feelings are real. You're just blocking them. You're not letting them out. You're not letting yourself heal and be healthy in the moment with this terrifying situation before you.
Yeah, because when I talk to her on the phone, I can be kind of dismissive. I find myself being dismissive, like I have to go, or
You know what that is?
And I call every day, but then when I talk to her, I really just want to go.
You cut it short. You know why you're doing that? Tell me. I think you do.
I don't know. I feel guilty.
It's self-preservation. You're trying to protect yourself from the emotional reaction you don't want to have with her. The real stuff. Now, how does that feel to hear? Is that true?
Well, me and my mom, I was always a daddy's girl, so we kind of had a hard relationship.
But you love your mom, that's clear.
Yeah.
And so what's preventing you from connecting more fully for the first time in your life with your mother?
I don't know. I don't have a lot of intimacy in my life, so it's hard to do.
You're getting in your own way, my friend.
Yeah.
You're the block, you're the obstacle. And it's ironic because you're there for her. You're showing up. You're physically, you're taking her to the doctor's appointments.
All the time.
Yet you've got this brick wall up and you're not letting yourself reach out. You even said she's crying, you're sitting right next to her, and you can't bring yourself to touching her.
She doesn't want me to touch her.
I don't care what she wants.
She'll shrug it off.
She needs it as much as you need it. It's
She'll
a missed
shrug it off,
opportunity.
though. I can try.
And you tell her, Mom, I'm doing this for me. Will you let me touch you?
That's good. I like that. I like that.
And the beautiful thing about it is, though she's still having this front, she's still faking this way, she's still trying to pretend like she doesn't need anybody. Quite frankly, I don't even know her and I'm not buying it.
Right.
I think you know that that's
why she
that's the
cries.
script that she's been living by, and it has failed her whole life. And you know what? It's time that game stops. And she doesn't ever have to embrace you back. She doesn't have to ever reciprocate fully.
Right.
But you need to know while she's still here that you're going to make that connection that you desperately need to make for her benefit as well as yours, even without you getting that permission from her.
Wow, that's deep. Because I used to make her have to tell me she loves me, because I used to tell her, I love you, and she would never say it, but I know she loves us a lot. And I said, Mom, years ago, I said, you don't tell us you love us. And she'd say, now she'll say, I love you, she'll go, I love you. But it's because her mother never touched her as a child a lot. And then she never touched me as a child a lot. And
You're exactly right. And you know what I'm impressed with most about you?
what?
Is that you know she loves you.
Oh, yeah.
That she doesn't even need to say it on her own. She
Yeah.
doesn't need to initiate that. And you are smart enough and healthy enough to be able to say, you know what? It's not about the word. You love me.
Yeah.
You might not be able to tell me, but I know you love me.
Right.